The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots, streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app. Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And it is high noon on a Wednesday here inside the SWBC podcast studio at the Star in Frisco. And this is a Don't Mess With Me Wednesday edition of Mick Shots. Don't Mess With Mickey edition of Mick Shots. As we get you ready for the Cowboys and the Detroit Lions this week after an eventful NFL owners meeting yesterday.
Yes, it was.
Mickey shaking his head.
We're talking soap opera mess here, man. Come on, what you got, buddy?
Can we just get along?
No, we cannot.
Don't mess with me, Mickey.
Too much money in the room, baby. It's too much money in the room. That's all I'm saying.
So what exactly were they messing with when this came up?
They're messing with a big old contract.
That's right. Money's on the line, baby.
TV contract?
No, the commissioner's
commissioner.
contract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like, okay, Deflategate, right? That's when Jerry was all in. You know, on hey Bob, I love you, man, but hey, it's Deflategate. I gotta pick a side. I went against you. Kraft was like, I'm gonna remember that. Then here comes Zeke, you know, with his Ohio State antics, following him into the pros, and then Kraft is like pulling the trigger on, hey, Roger, what you gonna do, man? About, you know, I've been hearing about Zeke been having some problems, man. Your boy Jerry's over there having too good of a time. Can we put some salt in his cereal? And that's what happens.
So let's tap the brakes on this contract extension.
He called his boy Roger. Jerry's like, I don't like Roger that much. Bob's like, for some reason, I like him a lot. Yeah, well, why is that? Because he was doing your biddings.
If I'm paying that kind of money to somebody, I say tap the brakes too. Let's talk this out.
But didn't he do that the last time?
I don't know.
Who, Jerry?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
When Goodell's contract was up, and he was like, hey, well, let's not so fast.
Yeah.
So no different.
Why are we just rubber stamping this?
Yeah.
You know?
Jerry wanted to see what else was out there, right?
In fact, we would all.
Another commissioner. See if another commissioner's out there.
You can find
agency.
three. We'll do it ourselves. It could be a triumvirate of commissioners right here.
Go back to where the Cowboys were once run. Right?
And I see what kind of
people in charge.
When I see the kind of money commissioners are making, I wish I would have stayed in law school more than a month.
Tell me about it.
This guy, I just looked it up. I didn't realize he's making $63.9 million a year.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
bro.
Yes.
I thought you knew, man.
Pretty soon he's going to be one of the owners of one of these teams.
And let's remember who's paying him, right?
So I say, you know, it's a $64 million question here.
There you
right?
go. There you go. And, you know, you got to ask more from a commissioner when you're paying $64 million than just coming up here and being the front guy. You know what I mean? Just
figurehead.
A figurehead sitting up here talking about, you know, hey, guys, you know, we really hate what we, you know, did to the minorities and, you know, the other players back in the day. And so if that's all it takes for him to fall on the sword, $64 million a year, and he's just falling on the sword? That's cool stuff, man. And I fall many times.
In Jerry versus Robert Kraft, Pat Jones, who is a friend of Jerry's, he has a radio show in Oklahoma City. I'm listening to him this morning. The former Oklahoma State head coach, former NFL assistant for Jimmy's guy too. He was an assistant with Jimmy, replaced him at Oklahoma State. He this morning he said, "I don't care, even at 80 years old, I'm taking Jerry in that."
You think Jerry got something
left? I'm
Jerry.
and Pat was at Arkansas when Jerry played football. You know, and people don't give him credit, but he was a pretty good football player.
He was All-American, wasn't he?
He wasn't All-American.
I thought, was that Jimmy?
He was a national champion.
Jimmy was All-American, right?
No.
Did they start?
Yeah.
Yeah, they started.
Well, if he started for a national championship team.
That's right.
They won a national championship. Well, let's remember the song he mentioned they sang at his 80th birthday party. Don't let the old man in, which means you may be old in age, but you don't have to act like an old man, right?
That's right. What else you got, Mickey?
By God.
Speaking of old men.
Yeah. And you know what? That's accurate. And I ain't letting them in either.
All right. So there it is. It's a Don't Mess With Me Wednesday edition of Mick Shots. Now, we had an open locker room here in the last hour,
did.
Right? My question for you, was there any cheese hanging from the ceiling in that locker room?
There was not. And there was a lot of, I think, irritated defensemen in there.
Okay, good. I like to hear that.
Leighton Vander Esch, you could tell, he kind of asked a question. I can't remember what it was, and he kind of paused, and he goes, I better not answer that one. And then he kind of softened up and said something, because you can tell it hit a chord that he was not happy with the defense and how it played.
Okay, I love hearing that, because the reason I asked if was there cheese hanging from the ceiling is because I look at this as, even though the Cowboys are coming off a loss at Philadelphia, but with the quarterback coming back this week and with a 1-4 Lions team coming off a bye, coming in here, Dan Campbell coming back home, he's from Glen Rose, Texas, he's going to have them ready to play, and so I look at this as a potential trap game if they.
I knew he was a Texas guy. I did not know that till now.
From some little small town.
Glen Rose.
Well, he transferred to Glen Rose.
He had to be the biggest thing in the city.
Where he grew up.
He's got dinosaurs in Glen Rose.
Oh, my God.
Where he grew up, they were still playing six-man football. And so he basically transferred to Glen Rose so he can play 11 on 11. And I think, if I read the story right, he had to go to maybe JUCO before he ended up at A&M. But yeah, it was a real small.
Born in Clifton, Texas.
Okay.
It was something he.
You know where that is?
He pointed out that no one ever heard, and it was next to the next town that was the biggest town. It had one stoplight in it.
Yeah.
So his town was smaller than the one stoplight town. Did you find it?
Well, Clifton is the largest city in Bosque County in central Texas with a population of 3,400. So maybe that was the hospital they had to go to.
Yeah, that might have been the one stoplight town. Yeah.
I'll do more research on it.
It's
But we don't need to get bogged down in that.
No, but look.
And Texas Aggie, by the way, Everson.
Let's throw out.
A proud Texas Aggie.
Oh, yeah.
Let's throw out.
Aren't they all?
I'm going to try one more time.
Yes.
Speaking of Texas Aggies, Rob Phillips is joining us later today,
yes,
right?
He is.
Okay, go ahead, Mickey. Go ahead.
Let's throw out the 29-0 loss to New England.
Yes.
Okay? They lose to Philadelphia 38-35.
Season opener.
So that's what, 24 points more than the Cowboys scored against Philadelphia? They beat Washington 36-27. They lost to Minnesota 28-24 and lost to Seattle.
Vikings had to make a comeback on that.
Right, 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to come back.
What was the score of the Cowboys-Eagles game? 26-17.
17 was my math not good?
Your math was way off.
Oh, okay.
Detroit scored 35 against Philadelphia, which is 35 minus 17 would be 18 points.
18 points.
Go ahead. All right.
And then
that's what we're here for, Spags.
They lose to Seattle 48-45.
Damn.
So
they're putting up numbers.
And they're giving up numbers.
They are giving up numbers.
The defense hasn't played well, but they're scoring points. I think they're
outside of when they go up against Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And see, the thing about it is they're not giving up. And that's kind of like Campbell. He's a very stubborn guy. You can tell that from watching him on Hard Knocks. He's going to do it his way, especially when you're coming to a team like Detroit. But he gives them hope, even at the end of ball games. They're down by 2 scores, and they're still able to make a run at it. I got to give him some love on that, and you need to be aware. if you're a Cowboys defense.
So in the team rankings, which is yards per game, right? They're number 2 in offense.
Mm-hmm.
They're 32nd in defense. So, but they've scored other than the shutout, and other teams have just scored more.
Well, Belichick, he has Jared Goff's number ever since.
Exactly.
Since
I was thinking about driving in that they lost to the Patriots 29-0, and then just as I was turning on into the parking lot here, I thought Belichick's got Jared Goff's
10-3.
number.
10-3.
The Super Bowl I was at in Atlanta.
10-3. Right? Am I right? 10-3.
Yeah, it was close to that. 13-3 maybe.
It was ugly. It was ugly. As long as I got the 3 correct, that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's your point.
I mean, Goff is only, this might have got distorted with the shutout by New England, but he hasn't even completed 60% of his passes.
Mm-hmm.
They've been running the football. And
they lost DeAndre Swift to a shoulder injury.
Right.
A couple of games ago.
He had 27 carries, so that, over 4 games. But Williams is the leader. He's got 6 rushing touchdowns. Do you think the Cowboys got 6 rushing touchdowns?
I'm sure you'll have the answer for us shortly. It was 13-3 in that Super Bowl.
13-3.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched the first half of the first half of the Lions-Patriots game.
And by the way, my answer is no. They've got 4.
Okay. And that game against the Patriots was closer than 29-0 would indicate. There was some Jared Goff shooting himself in the foot on a couple of occasions. In the first half especially, he threw a pick. The Lions were down in the red zone or near the red zone. I think they were at the 18-yard line. He threw a pass on the left sideline into double coverage. They got picked off. They were down 3-0 at that point. And then you talk about their run defense. The run defense is not good. I think they're 32nd in the league in run defense. Mm-hmm. And the Patriots took over at their own 3-yard line and basically ran it down their throat and kicked a field goal. So it's 6-0 at that point. Then on one other occasion, Dan Campbell.
Was this with Zeppi? Was Zeppi?
Zappe. Bailey Zappe was a quarterback. Yeah.
Zippy.
and he looks good, by the way. But there was another occasion. It was first drive of the game. The Lions have a 4th and 1 at their own 45-yard line, and they go for it, and they don't make it. And so they gave them 3 points there, basically. Okay.
Wait, they were what?
They were 4th and 1 at their own 45-yard line.
Oh, okay.
They went for it, did not make it.
Much worse than
Patriots took over. Exactly. Right. And here's the deal. We're looking at how important, and we've always talked about how important the turnover ratios are. These coaches are going for it on their own end of the field on a 4th and 1 situation, and if you don't make it, that is a turnover.
That's
Yes.
a turnover.
Yes.
And so if Dan Campbell didn't decide to do that, if he just played the game, they're playing in Foxborough. Okay, just let the game come to you.
Don't bring the crowd into the game.
Exactly, right. Yeah. Punt them down inside their own 20 or whatever, and make them drive the length of the field. They got a quarterback starting his first NFL game. Make him go the length of the field. Anyway, point being, then it was 6-0 second quarter, about 3 minutes left in the half, and they've got a 3rd down at the 26-yard line, and he gets sacked. Okay, and so now I think it was a 4th down play. All right, so now he's trying. Apparently they don't have a field goal kicker. They can't kick a 50-yard field goal. They went for it on 4th down, and Matt Judon flushed him out of the pocket, strip sack. And they return. Kyle Duggar returns it 48 or 58 yards for a touchdown. And so now all of a sudden, you were about to. If you had a kicker, okay, you were about to at least kick a field goal and make this a 6-3 game, and all of a sudden you're down 13-0.
What's going on with their kicker, Spags?
Well, I was just going to tell you. So the kicker, it says parentheses practice squad. So
they may be on their 3rd kicker.
They're on their 3rd kicker. because Michael Badgley and Sam Ficken are both now on the practice squad. So
Sam Ficken,
That's the way you said it.
Siebert had been their
Seibert.
It's
Austin Seibert.
He had been their
Sooner.
kicker.
That's how I know how to pronounce it.
He's only attempted 5 field goals. He made 3. He's 12 of 12 on extra points. So it looks like these other guys, they haven't even – they've got them listed on the depth chart, and they haven't kicked.
And their other kicker they had –
Eberle.
Yeah, Dominic Eberle. He was let go.
1 of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've only made 4 field goals so far this year. And you're thinking when you score that many points, you're probably – what?
Apparently they're just
scoring touchdowns.
No, they just go for it. They just go for it rather than kick field goals. I'm going through that game, and last night I went through the drive chart on it, and I said, now if he would have just kicked if he had a kicker,
right,
and he would just kick the field goal, I had it figured out, kind of like on our show yesterday, that this would have been like a 16-13 game in the fourth quarter instead of 29-0 if he had a kicker. But he was going for it on fourth down every time. So
they have scored 18 touchdowns. How many touchdowns, just off the top of your head, you think the Cowboys have scored?
10.
12.
10.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I don't think you need to hang any cheese if they are paying attention just because it says Detroit, right? And I think Van Der Esch was asked the question, I think, after the cameras left, and he either didn't understand it or he was offended by it. And his point was, all we have to worry about is ourselves.
That's it.
And
this defense can play like that.
Right?
They can play like that against anybody. I mean, even with the Eagles, we had our moments to where we had to make the adjustment. But we made great halftime adjustments.
Right.
I like that.
What do you think the defense...
he wasn't happy about what happened on the possession after it got to 27.
That's exactly what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
I said, what do you think it perturbs him and the defense the most about that game against the Eagles?
Well, why do you think, I don't know how many times he used it, Quinn, in his press conference on Monday, used the term PO'd. And I'll guarantee you that's what did it, because they allowed him to convert those 3 consecutive third downs.
And they ran the ball.
And they ran it on him.
All the way down the field.
Yes.
And then finally it was a touchdown pass at the end, but with men downfield. But
so culprits, the fact that we were able to give it up in that manner, is there something that we can hang our hats on? Okay, third downs, they were successful. But running the ball as well, we were not able to consistently keep them in the backfield. I mean, they were doing the same thing that we saw in San Francisco, the same frustration, long drives that not only are time-consuming, but it's disheartening, to your entire team. That's one of those moments where it's like a turnover to me when you're able to how long was the drive?
Oh, it was at least 75. It was after the field goal, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was 75 yards, right? They start after a touchback.
Looking at my notes.
And see, that
It was 75 yards,
like 13
plays, 75 yards, and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 passes, and then 11 runs, and then a pass to A.J. Brown for 22, and the touchdown to Devontae Smith for the final 7.
Right. Now, they won't have the same problem figuring out what Jared Goff's going to do.
Because
He's not running our
RPOs,
right?
Correct.
And so they don't have to worry about, and that's what gave him problems.
But there may be other ways to put him in that same position without the quarterback.
When they've had problems stopping the run, people have attacked the edges, meaning the defensive ends can't be single-minded that I'm going to get the quarterback. You've got to set the edge.
Yeah.
And the linebackers, however they're playing it. Now, I did notice that they did play some more 4-3 with 3 linebackers instead of 2 linebackers in Curse, or however they were kind of doing it. But again, they're going to come in here and say, okay, we can run the ball. And they've averaged 5.4 yards a carry. So if that doesn't get their attention, now it may not get everybody else's attention outside the building, but I would imagine that's been ingrained to them in the team meetings these first 2 days, which they will practice, maybe by time we finish here. But it's going to be a kind of a pullback practice because of how late they got in on Monday.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand on the travel. I mean, when you play a Sunday night game on the road, I mean,
on the coast,
you're 3-hour flight or whatever it is, and you're getting back in at 5 in the morning. Monday is a rest. I mean, it's a sleep all day.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So we landed right at 3:30, maybe 3:30, 3:45. So by the time you get to the car, it's 4 o'clock. Say by the time you get home, everybody's at probably a half hour, at least a half hour away. Now it's 4:30. Well, you don't just walk in and go to sleep, right? Now they sleep in the plane.
That's not a good sleep.
But it's not, right?
No, that's not a good sleep.
It's not a restful one.
Sleep.
And so you get to bed at 5:30.
Plus, right after you got through playing, you can still feel the bruises and the bumps.
Right.
It's not a good sleep.
Yeah. So,
all right.
So anyway.
All right.
We need to take a break.
We are past time for a break, and we're back with more Mick Shots in just a moment.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
We paid how much for those lessons?
Shh, she's doing great.
Oh yeah, totally. Can you pass me a Pepsi Zero Sugar? Great job, honey! Oh, look at that. That's not the end.
No way. Now it's time for the encore.
You know what? You're right. 5 times? Not enough times.
For everyone who traded in rock concerts for their kids' recitals, you've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar. That's what I like.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. You hear that? I'm a torrential downpour. Torrential? What's that even mean? It means you can't see out of your windshield. And if you have the wrong car insurance, you might have to make it rain to fix your bumper. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
I know.
K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, from corporate homes to your home. Have your roof checked by choice, not by chance. Call now, 214-225-4860, kpostcompany.com.
Did they get you a monkey too?
What are we talking about?
He said when he was a kid, his family brought him an accordion, and I could just see him with a little monkey.
Well, it was a big one.
I know, but you still got to have the monkey to go with it, though.
Right.
Is that what they expected for you to be in your life? Or just walk around with an accordion?
I at least learned to read music, which I...
So
nice.
But you can play the accordion?
Oh, yeah.
Nice. To read
Not
music.
very well.
To read
Do you
music.
have one?
And you had to... I still have it. It works, by the way. I can't play it.
You need to bring it up here.
What, to show and tell? Everybody's got to bring something
And
in
the monkey, too,
on
man.
a Friday.
You got to bring the monkey.
And I got to the point where I didn't like it, which
I could imagine.
You can't practice when you don't like something, right? And I think the last time my dad whipped me it was with the accordion on, and I couldn't get away.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, yo. I can
like
see you running.
The accordion is like around your neck. I mean, does it have a strap?
Shoulders.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
It goes around your shoulders, and you got a right hand and a left hand. And that's when we decided, maybe the accordion's not in his future. Because back
But you
then,
still have it.
Thinking,
Right.
oh yeah,
I'm messing up, guys.
I got it. It's
I think I
upstairs.
just messed up my thing.
How much do accordions cost?
I have
Let
no
me come in there
clue.
before you break that.
Wow.
I have no clue.
Oh man, forget that. I'll fix it later. That's good stuff, man. I can see. Hey, I know that position, trying to get away from a butt whooping. Yeah, I can check. That's why I was laughing so
See,
much.
you
could be in some precarious situations trying to get away from that. Boy.
I could get away from my mom.
Sorry, Chris.
When I got old enough, and my dad was a barber, so what you got whipped with was the barber strap, the razor strap, right?
Uh-huh.
And when she couldn't catch me, she'd throw it at me.
God, man, your household sounds like mine, man.
So was it like the Cowboys had an accordion wrapped around them on the last drive when the Eagles went the length of the field against them?
It sure felt like
Uh-huh.
it. Then you understand that weight of an accordion, right?
Welcome back to The View, people.
So, getting back to football.
I was trying to.
We were James Washington. I saw him run routes when Dak was throwing on Sunday before the game, and he was running really well. It's like, I think he's told me 8 or 9 weeks since he fractured the fifth metatarsal.
So that was who Nate was. I mean, Nate texted me. that was who. Nate says no musical instruments.
No.
Yeah. That's who Dak was throwing to before the game?
He was one of them.
Okay.
And then there was a couple guys on the practice squad. Is it Braylon Smith, the wide receiver on the practice squad? He was out there.
Brandon. Oh, it's Brandon.
Brandon, yeah. And there was a couple more guys, and then some of the guys were acting like they were playing DB, like Damone Clark. He was out there.
That was my next question. Well, okay, what's going to happen with Damone Clark?
Because this is his third week, right? I think just judging how he was moving out there, and obviously he's not going to cover it, right? But he's acting like it. He was moving pretty well too.
You can't get out there messing around unless you feel good.
Yeah, and that's what Washington was saying. Because so he was placed on IR, or was it? When did he did it in training camp? Right? Did they? And they couldn't put him on PUP, right? PUP, you had to be hurt ahead of time.
Who? Well,
Washington.
No, he was PUP.
Injured reserve.
Or
Injured
a non-football.
No, injured reserve.
Okay.
Because it happened right at the start of non-football was Damone Clark.
That's what I thought we were talking about. Damone.
No,
who are you talking about?
Yeah. Washington.
Oh, Washington. All right.
Yeah, he's on IR.
Right.
He's on IR.
Oh, he's on IR. Yeah.
So anyway.
I'm still thinking about you running with the accordion.
I couldn't run. I went right down to the floor. I was probably in the fetal position.
Oh man!
But he said that now it's just a matter of convincing himself that he's fine.
Yeah.
I think
you gotta
medically,
be comfortable with it, just like with Michael Gallup.
And you got to make cuts, right? And so. And I said, I said, you'll get a reminder. He says, so when the weather gets cold, did you? I said, oh, yeah, for at least several years before you just kind of forgot about it, right? But it sounds like he's getting close. So that would be an addition to the offense.
And another deep threat.
And a guy that can go.
Yes.
Right? Because, Gallup's deep threat, right? Lamb, but as a third receiver, I don't know. Brown seems to get open, but I don't know that he's going to just run right by you.
His is by routes and by positioning.
And because that's why I think they were using Fiocco out there some, because he had some get up and go.
Right.
So he can
and
maybe.
Plus the size.
Yeah.
There's the 50-50 balls are important down the field.
And this guy's a sturdy-looking receiver. He did point out that he added to his collection of horses on his ranch.
Nice.
He said they just bought, 8 or 9 young horses.
Wow.
Yeah. And he goes, he said, I don't spend my money on anything else. So I buy horses and raise them. I hope to make some money from them.
Good old country Texas boy.
They're raising, what do you call it? The roping rodeo guys. Well, however they train the horses to rope.
Okay.
Walt Garrison used to raise those. But anyway.
Like cutting?
Maybe cutting is kind of hurting more. But anyway, I think he's getting close. So it'd be interesting to see. And they do right now have an open spot on the 52.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see where that one goes. But we learned that in the locker room, along with Jason Ferguson. They were asking him about his touchdown, and he goes,
Jake Ferguson.
Jake, I'm sorry, I said Jason. That the move he put on the guy, he said, when I watched it on tape, they kind of told me, don't do that again. Mm-hmm. It's one of those, that's good that you scored, but the ball was pretty, it was out there.
He was a little careless with it.
Yeah.
And then he tried to do the same move later on on a little bubble screen.
And what happened should have happened the first time, right?
Well,
when the guy ran right by him.
Right.
But with that, we'll take a break.
There you go.
All right. We're back with more in a moment, including an Aggie.
We paid how much for those lessons?
Shh. She's doing great.
Oh, yeah, totally. Can you pass me a Pepsi Zero Sugar? Great job, honey! Oh, look at that. That's not the end.
No way. Now it's time for the encore.
You know what? You're right. 5 times? Not enough times.
For everyone who traded in rock concerts for their kids' recitals, you've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar. That's what I like.
Nobody protects you from mayhem like Allstate. You hear that? I'm a torrential downpour. Torrential? What's that even mean? It means you can't see out of your windshield. And if you have the wrong car insurance, you might have to make it rain to fix your bumper. So switch to Allstate, save money, and be better protected from mayhem, like me.
Based on coverage and limits selected, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. In most states, prices vary based on how you buy. Allstate Bar and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more. Back to Mick Shots.
Live music fans, head to the Star in Frisco on Wednesday, October 26th for a brand new monthly concert series, Sounds of the Star, featuring the spectacular Southern soul band Prophets and Outlaws. The concert kicks off at 7 p.m. and is free and open to the public. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com.
Okay, so we mentioned Damone Clark in the last segment, and of course he was placed on NFI, non-football injury list, but his designation opening the 21-day window to return to practice and was started 3 weeks ago today. So the 21 days.
3 weeks ago.
I'm sorry, wait, what's today? No, it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago today.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's got another week till next week. And then they need to decide what to do.
Right.
You want to introduce our guest of honor?
We have a guest of honor who's just arrived here.
Y'all just
Rob Phillips, who's joined us.
Y'all just keep talking football. We got a big game this weekend.
We
right?
do have a big game this week.
That's the important thing.
One of the reasons I was asking about Damone Clark is the fact that the Lions feature a rookie middle linebacker in Malcolm Rodriguez out of Oklahoma State that was taken number 188 overall. And I was high on him coming into the draft, but didn't know much about Damone Clark. Well, now that I've learned about Damone Clark, I'm like, yeah, the Cowboys made the right pick at 176. And then they doubled up on Oklahoma State linebackers, taking Devin Harper 5 picks later than when Malcolm Rodriguez went at 193. But Rob Phillips is here, and Mickey, would you like to do the introduction of Rob Phillips and what's going on with young Rob here?
If I can get through it, if he can't get through it.
I got through it this morning.
You did.
It wasn't easy.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, Rob's been with us off and on since 2003. And he has decided that he wants to do something else. And so this is yes. This is his last official day working with us here on DallasCowboys.com.
Oh, man, what's happening, Rob?
Oh, Mr. Walls, just chance to grow, chance to take on a leadership role outside of sports.
You're still young.
I'm still young, but I'm not super young. So if I'm going to make the move, I better make it. But I mean, I got to thank Mickey. Mickey actually gave me my first interview when I was still in college in 2003. And I mentioned Derek and Nick. A lot of people that have been here a long time. I appreciate all the support. This job, I mean, you're spoiled by this job because you get to hang out with legends. Everson Walls, Bill Jones. I mean, it's it's unlike any other job you get. So it's hard to move on to another one. But I think at this point in my life and with my family, it's a good opportunity. Not easy though. This is like family. As I said, this is like home this morning, and it is. And he's like my work dad. Has been for a long time. We've got a
text from a viewer. He says, "Tell Mickey don't cry." That would be from. Was
that from Nate?
From Nate, yes.
Nate knows me more than most people.
The door is open. Be careful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Walking in.
He'll be in any minute right now.
Speaking of legends, I'm going to miss Nate too.
Mm-hmm. You want to go back to the old Talkin Cowboys days at Valley Ranch? That's where you got your broadcast start.
I knew this was coming ever since.
That was your broadcast start, wasn't it, on Talkin Cowboys?
Yeah. Do you know where I was sitting?
I wasn't going to bring that up, but if you'd like to bring it up.
I brought it up this morning. It was we don't have anything in here.
We were going to try and reenact it, but
reenact it.
So what we were doing, for those that maybe not remember back to 2004, we came up. The Cowboys had a channel on Comcast TV. It was
when it started. You know how many subscribers there were to the Cowboys channel? There were 2, my mom and dad in Irving.
And we had to facilitate the channel 24 hours. So we had to produce content, and then they put it on a loop. Mm-hmm. And so they came up with the idea, well, we need a talk show. So Bill Jones and Mickey Spagnola started Talkin Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And we do it, about an hour every day, Monday through Friday.
Felt like 3 hours
ago. And we're on camera. We'd never done anything like this, like on camera. Mm-hmm. And so
this is predating NFL Network, right?
That's right.
This is before the league started their own network.
It was the year before NFL Network started.
That's right.
And so we decided we were going to take emails. We couldn't take calls for some reason. We were going to take emails. So we
barely had emails then.
We had
eight years after the internet was invented.
So we had Rob come in as our sidekick. He was like our Guillermo, right?
And he's the young guy.
He's the young guy
right out of college.
Right out of college, and he sat at a little table off to the side, so he wasn't.
I thought it was a school desk.
Basically, I was basically in the dark over in the corner, and
he wasn't on the set. He was off to the side.
And they put a sport coat on me, just kind of dressed me up a little bit, so I didn't look like a little kid at Thanksgiving dinner.
What was your purpose?
To read the emails.
Yeah, I read the emails.
He monitored to the emails and picked out the best ones and read them, and then we answered them.
Did you have a lot to choose from?
Not many.
I didn't think so. Talking about it just started.
It was just getting off the ground. Yeah, not really.
So we called it the kids' table, like at Thanksgiving when everybody didn't fit on the regular table.
And that was accurate. That's what it looked like.
Emails were from my father. Bill Sr. in Irving emails.
Bills.
And actually,
William Sr. Just to make it sound better.
So, Rob, reminded me, because you started as an intern, right?
Right. You hired me with Derek.
You came to training camp with us.
Yep.
In Parcells' first year.
Parcells' first year in San
good
Antonio.
year.
It was a good year.
Yeah.
Turned it around.
And then you graduated mid-year, if I remember right. Like you finished.
No, I had another year of college. 2004, they started going back to Oxnard, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I was still about to graduate.
Right.
And I didn't have a job out of college.
That's
so
why. Okay.
I was a contract guy for a year or so, and then I got hired full time.
Best hire made.
Oh, stop.
No, seriously.
Well, I appreciate that. And I've had good mentors, and you're definitely one of them. Bill's one of them. And I got to work. Oh, I got to work with Everson. I got to do a podcast with Everson Walls for like a year and a half before COVID started. Right, best job ever. I mean, it's just it's been a dream. Really has.
So, what are you doing now?
I'm gonna work for a nonprofit, helping out small businesses. Kind of a trade association to help members grow their businesses and kind of run their publications and their newsletters, magazines, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I can see why you'll miss this job.
It's not the same.
Not exactly.
It's not sports.
It ain't sports.
But it'll be a good opportunity to grow.
No doubt.
So and my family's been through a lot the last couple of years, so I think being home a little bit more, I'm going to try to do that. So, but it's going to be tough. And
coming up, I was one of the younger guys, and then you'd always see like equipment managers, and then even some of the medical physicians and the assistants that would come in. And, as a kid, we all kind of go together, and you look at this guy, just a little kid out of college, whoever it is, and then next thing you know, they have a position in the Cowboys organization, a high position in that organization. And all of a sudden, a player might retire, but then, these guys are still there in place. And to see them develop, as individuals, I always thought that was pretty cool, because you kind of dismiss young guys like that, like in the training room, or guys that work in the locker room. You dismiss them a little bit and take them for granted. And then all of a sudden, they're making decisions. They're making big decisions. So to me, it was just a matter of them developing as people. And it seems like that's what you're doing right now. You're developing as a person.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, and trying to move up from the kids' table back in 2004 is what I'm just trying to do. I told the guys this morning on Talkin Cowboys, like I'm going to leave. It's been, I think, 17 seasons off and on. I'm going to leave, and they're going to go on a run here. It's going to happen. This is going to be the year, and I'm going to miss out on it.
That's sort of I mean, we all face that, right? That's sort of the fear. It's like, okay, I'm throwing that.
Well, if that happened, then Jerry wishes he would have fired you a long time ago.
I was the missing link. I was the curse. Yeah.
Oh, those Talkin Cowboy days.
And by the way, Nate says, you're welcome.
I'll text him back.
Or even could you put it in the Cowboys' perspective? One of the first things that we did that was very memorable for me, and Rob, you were a part of it too, is leading up to that 2005 draft when the Cowboys had 2 first-round draft picks and taken DeMarcus Ware and Marcus Spears. That's really the first time we really covered the draft, where we got into the nuts and bolts of it and talking to
Didn't we get their high school
coaches on the show and stuff like that.
We got a glimpse at Tony Romo's future broadcasting career.
Yeah.
He would come on as the backup and spend an hour. I mean, can you imagine him doing that when he was the starting quarterback a few years later? But we got an insight onto his knowledge of the game, which is really cool.
So he wouldn't shut up then.
Would not. No.
Well, the best thing with
wouldn't have been where he wouldn't be where he is today without that experience with Rob Phillips.
Bill Jones. Come on, Bill Jones.
I mean, think about it. He was the third quarterback, and we used to go hang out at his locker, and he'd explain things to us, right? And we didn't need to write anything down or quote. He was just kind of explaining how things were. And he was always right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, maybe this guy will be able to play because he couldn't hit this broadside of a barn his rookie year.
Do you have a favorite memory or a favorite player or anything that?
Oh, man.
Or something you're going to miss the most?
Well, besides Mickey?
Besides
Yes.
Mickey. I mean,
arguing with me.
No, he was after Michael Irvin, so there's no playmaker stories, right? I mean,
no, I miss Mike.
Dead stories.
No real dead stories
No dead
either.
stories.
Bill stories.
It's honestly, this sounds cheesy, but it's just the relationships. It just like I'm sure Everson, you felt like this when you retired. You miss the locker room, you miss the guys. This job it's a challenge. It's fun. It's a challenge in that it's a lot of time away from your family. So you got to build those relationships with people. And I had a large group at my wedding. I had a whole Cowboys corner, and that meant a lot, And
Yeah,
so,
there's something
I know
about
your mom and your dad, like, oh my God.
These are the people you work with?
Yeah, right. So, yeah.
And there's something about the ones where your first job out of college too is it's
spoiled.
Special. You because you have more free time. Okay, you develop closer relationships with those. I look back at my career, and my first TV job was in Lubbock right out of college. And those 4 years there are probably my favorite as far as establishing relationships. And so, because people get married, you have families and stuff. You don't have as much free time to do stuff with people. And so, but you've had the advantage to be with these same people over a 2-decade period now.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Covered a lot of great players. Obviously, Brady James was one of my favorite guys. Oh, yeah. Jason Witten, I could just go down the list. And the best compliment I ever get from a guy like Brady that I covered for many years and probably didn't love everything I wrote was that you were fair. And I think showing respect to players is so important. We would not have jobs if it wasn't for players and what they did on the field. They're the reason we have jobs. So there's more outlets now to analyze and be critical, but always have respect for what guys do on the field. And I always say you don't really know. Everson knows. You don't know until you're in the locker room in January or you're on the field and you hear those pads pop to really know what guys go through. Mm-hmm. You got to have respect for what players do out there, man. That's very important in this line of business.
And kind of along the lines of what Everson's talking about, think about what this job has done for you in your development to where you are going into what you're doing now, because you came in as a writer, right?
Yeah.
And you got to do the broadcasting stuff, developing your communication skills and everything.
Yeah.
And there's been a great advantage to having to be as versatile as you can be, and it really grew you as a person and as a employee and a leader.
Introverted
a leader. He's a leader.
I hope so. I hope so.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
And one of the great things he did that probably would go unnoticed, he started developing kind of producer skills for TV programs. He was going on the cheerleader trips and doing the hour show of making of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleading calendar. And then when he left, it fell in my lap. I don't know if I ever
tough job
ever
tough job.
forgave him for that. But no, and then
documentaries.
His work on the documentaries, the Deep Blues. The last one was at the. Did you do was it Haley or?
Oh, it was mental health with Charles. Yeah,
and
Charles was gracious enough to.
If anybody hasn't seen that, you need to go on DallasCowboys.com and find it. Yeah. Haley opened up about mental illness, and he got him to open up. But to write those things and condense like 20 hours of interviews into 47 minutes, it's a great skill. And Rob started doing that, and it was really, really good.
Were you part of 24/7?
No, sir.
Oh, well, never.
No, that wasn't my deal. But Mick, I mean, you've helped me with that too. And Bill, you're right about the on camera. Like, if you're introverted like me, it's great. It's a great motivator for thousands of people to basically be in your office every day and judge you and evaluate how you're doing and what you're writing and all that stuff. So, thanks to Cowboys Nation out there too. You guys are being too kind.
Yeah, well,
Gotta talk Lions.
We don't get to do what we do unless those people out there are paying attention, right?
Yeah. Thank you guys.
And that's a kind of a big deal. But we'll miss Rob. Boy, I never had to convince him to go do something, right? He'd volunteer to go do something beyond what he was supposed to be doing. And it helped me out with a lot of stuff along the way over these last 10 years. So, you're going to be missed.
Well, Nate said it's time to go. And, bye, Rob.
Nate's had enough.
Does Nate
You guys can talk all day, but Mickey, Nate's about to come in there.
Yeah, Nate's about to bust in.
All right.
Thank
Rob
you
Phillips,
guys. Appreciate it.
Rob. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks to all of you joining us here on this edition of Don't Mess with Mickey. Mick Shots. Hey, we'll shout at you again tomorrow.
Cowboys, and go Rob. Go Rob.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?